So I support the Benue State government when he described it as a deliberate effort to occupy those territories. You see, when Mieti Allah came on air and on various channels to say that they are not going to agree to the anti-grazing law, and they threatened fire and brimstone, they didn't go through any legitimate channels to push through their grievances. And then those fire and brimstone actually started raining down on the people of Benue State. I expected that a responsible government of the day will call them for questioning.
Let me put you in the position as a farmer now. Let's take off your analyst cap and put on the farmer cap. If you're a farmer and you've invested so much in your land, would you be willing to go to any length to protect your property? Any length
is relative. So I have a farm. The parcel of land on which I farm is mine. I have rights of ownership to that asset. It is not a communal property. It is held by legal papers backing my ownership of that property. And so yes, it is within my right to protect my asset within the ambits of the law of the Federation of Nigeria.
And when the Federation fails you, what do you do?
I've had cattle come to my farm. We have also arrested cattle and given them to police. We didn't kill them. And they go there to bail their cattle and all of that. We didn't kill any of their cattle.
They built cattle?
Yes. Wow. But we invested resources in putting armed guards on the farm, even collaborating with police around our farm, because we are a large concern. But the average farmer, the subsistence farmer in the village, you want him to invest $1 million plus to $2 million a month on securing a very small farm. See, for God's sake, the responsibility for security is in the hands of the Federal Republic. They own all the security apparatuses, from the police to the army to the navy to the air force. I do not need to inform the government to respond to its responsibility for securing my life. It is a mandate that has been given to the government, and they do not need me to make any other formal complaint or to even do anything at all for them to do their job. What has happened is not just that the government has failed to protect the people, it is that when the people are attacked, the government has also failed to bring justice to both the herdsmen that were killed. I'm sure there were a few innocent herdsmen, and the entire villages that were ravaged by these marauders. And so what that has emboldened the herdsmen. And so the thinking from my side as a Benue person, I want to speak as a Benue person now, not even as a farmer or as an analyst anymore. The government appears to me to be complicit in this. There is clear evidence that the government of the day has not only refused to do anything to prevent the anarchy in Benue State, but appears to have supported it in the way and manner it has gone about handling this issue.
The issue of the common ground, the grazing, the act, how feasible do you think that is? Because a lot of people have the opinion that you can't just allocate my land for the purpose of a greater good. I have rights to...
The initial proposal on that was 10,000 hectares per state. That comes to 370,000 hectares. That is nearly 40%, over 30% of the total land size in Nigeria. That's ridiculous. You want to allocate 30% of the entire land size to Nigeria, to a population, a people group that is less than 2 million. There's less than one local government in Lagos State.
If you had your recommendations, or you had an opportunity...
That's on the one hand. The second hand is that arable farming and nomadism cannot cohabit. There's clear evidence of that already. Animals are animals. They are going to venture into the farms, no matter how much you try to do it. Arable farming and nomadism cannot cohabit. And so the thinking from the Benue State government is, if these two parties can no more cohabit, then what I must do to first of all stop the conflict is to keep them apart. Now, it is not the responsibility of the people of Benue State to plan a strategy for Nigeria. I do not know what the contribution of beef is to Nigeria's GDP, or how strategic a resource it is from an agricultural strategy point of view. But I do know that cassava contributes trillions in revenue to this country. I don't know that Nigeria is the leading producer of cassava in the world, and cassava is a strategic resource. I know the same for maize. I know the same for sorghum. I know the same for oil palm. Okay, now the stuff I mentioned are exactly the stuff that beef production or milk production, where Nigeria has absolutely no advantage, neither absolute nor comparative, is now threatening. And so from a strategic point of view, you sit back and you say, hey, if a non-strategic component is threatening a strategic component, I need to take a decision. I am not saying that the Fulani man cannot do legitimate business. Okay, but to do legitimate business, you cannot do legitimate business in a way and manner that infringes on another person's legitimate and strategic business.
So I guess the next question is what is the way forward in terms of the silence from the government is deafening, and because there's no proactive measure being put in place, the silence to some people is a way of condoning what is happening. What's your take on this?
Oh, yeah, so the right to life is sacred, and if the government of the day fails to do its duty to protect lives, it is incumbent on the people that are threatened to do whatever they can to protect themselves. We wait on the government to do their bit, but it does not mean that without the absence of a government, which is what the case is now by definition, without the absence of a government, I think the people of Benue State ought to look inwards to say, how best do we protect our communities? Now, I am not advocating violence or advocating lawlessness or advocating that people carry arms and start a genocide war against the Fulani.
Sorry, I need to cut you there quickly. We need to go on a quick break. We'll be back after this. It's still Rubbin Minds right here on Channels.
So let's dance now, it is my turn. Just one word, you we represent
Welcome back to Rubbin Minds. I still have Leonard, and we're going to round up very quickly on this. I wanted to just stress the fact that you're referring to just the herdsmen as a general group, not necessarily the Fulani.
Yes.
Just wanted to correct that so that people don't get the impression it's a one-sided.
And by the way, I grew up in the north, so I have quite a number of Fulani friends, great people. I have a lot of respect for them. We debate these issues openly, and I can say on air without equivocation that the real Fulanis are as frustrated and angry about the response of this government as I am.
I don't even think it's about whether it's even Fulani or not. I think just anybody who owns land and cattle or whatever the case might be will be frustrated. Nobody wants to die. And I mean, when you look at tribal issues or communal issues like this, you flash back to things like Ifemodakeke and how it degenerated to a point where it was very detrimental. And even if you look at the Boko Haram, when it started just like a joke, and this is like another symptom of something that could snowball into something bigger. What do you think should be the immediate intervention by the federal government?
When Buhari came into government, the highly revered Maitama Sule led a delegation of northern elders to him. And one word that recurred in that address was justice. He said to him, be just, be fair. And so wherever there is injustice, there is the absence of justice. And this is what the snowballing effect you are seeing is a direct correlation that Buhari has refused to take that advice seriously as it relates to his kin and the people of Benue State and Plateau State and wherever. Now, he may not be guilty of favoring a people group, but he does appear to be guilty of ignoring the pains and anarchy happening in those places, and is guilty of refusing to bring justice to the people that deserve it. This is what the government needs to fix, and it is the responsibility of the government to enforce the laws of the Federal Republic of Nigeria.
Thank you very much, Ned. I appreciate the time. And of course, moving on very quickly, we're back after the break, this time taking a look at another type of battle, but this time with yourself. Social media handles, the habit of going online. A lot of people spend most of their time in the virtual world than in the real world. And some have termed it an addiction. Where do you draw the line? How many hours should you spend on social media? We'll find out with a very talented blogger, Lila's blog. She'll be here in the studio with us after the break. Stick around.